Hello everyone, welcome to Green One Day at a Time. In this video, I'm going to experiment growing herbs using the overseeding method. So the herbs I'm going to try are dill, parsley, that is curly parsley, and I have flat leaf parsley, and then thyme. I've never grown thyme from seeds, so I'm going to try this time using this method. Then some basil, so both red and green basil. And some coriander. I've already sown some moss curled parsley by sowing individual seeds or 2 or 3 seeds in a little module. So this is the one. It hasn't germinated much. I've sowed 2 to 3, and some places there's only 1 sprout, some places there's none. So it hasn't given me a very good result. So overseeding is by sowing a lot of seeds in one small pot and then dividing it when it starts to germinate. So I filled up these tiny yogurt pots and I'm going to start sowing in each of them. So first let's try thyme. The seeds are very tiny, so you just sprinkle them on top of the pot. In fact, you should sprinkle a lot more than what's needed. So practically it should cover the top of the pot. Because it is so small, the seeds are so small, you do not need to cover the seeds. Label them so that we do not get confused when they are germinating. Once they start showing their true leaves, we will know which one is which. So let's continue with the other herbs. So this is basil. The seeds of basil are much bigger than thyme. Overseeding is a method that is adopted by all the herb plants that we buy from supermarkets. If you look at the plants, they will have multiple plants within one pot. It's because this method generally tends to give you a much thicker herb plant pot than just trying with 1 seed or 2 seed. Now it's the coriander seeds I collected last year. See, the seeds are much bigger than any of the seeds that we sowed so far. So these seeds will be covered, so lightly covered. So you can see it's a very tiny pot. It's a 3 centimeter pot, and I have put quite a lot of seeds into one pot. Now let's cover them. Press them firmly into the soil for contact and then cover them. And they should germinate quite well. These are dill seeds. I love dill as a herb. I use it a lot in our home cooking. So sprinkle them. They're quite flat. The seeds are very flat. So spread them evenly and then press them lightly so that they are in contact with the soil, and we'll cover them just like the coriander seeds. So here are all the herbs using the overseeding method. So coriander, thyme, basil, parsley. All we have to do now is to water them and keep them in a sunny, warm window for them to germinate. And then we'll see after a couple of days how the progression is. Using this method of overseeding, the next step is to wait for the plants to germinate and produce 2 or 3 true leaves, and then we'll transplant them into one of these pots, which is the next size. So you can see these pots are maybe 9 centimeter pots. So we'll plant them into those pots. It's been 2 weeks since I sowed all the herb seeds, and I left them on my windowsill, a south-facing windowsill. This is coriander, which has germinated quite well. Most of the seeds have germinated. And that's dill, which has germinated again in the same form. It has germinated. It has given me good outcome on the germination rate, but they are very leggy. So I have decided to divide them at this stage rather than wait for them to produce their true leaves, just because they are leggy. So the next thing is to divide. So in overseeding, the first step is germination, and the next step is to divide them in halves or in quarters, depending upon the size of the pot you have used. So for example, here this is parsley. I wouldn't divide these yet because they are quite small. They're very difficult to divide at this stage. As this is thyme, the germination is less, and this is red basil. And again, I would wait for a little bit more time to divide them. The thyme hasn't germinated yet, so as I mentioned earlier, it has got a slow germination rate. This is green basil. Again, I would wait for it to become a little bit more bigger. So I'm going to use these 9 centimeter pots, and I'll divide them in there as halves rather than quarters. The same way with the dill, as halves. Because the seedlings are a bit leggy, I would bury them a little deeper than what it is now, which will give the seedlings a bit more chance to be stronger and thicker stemmed than how it is grown at present. So gently tease them out of their pot, because the seedlings are very, very delicate. Gently tease them and then divide them into halves so they come out this easily. Just place them in your pot in the center and then cover them with soil or compost or your potting medium. So there you go. I've got 4 dill plants from the 2 small pots I germinated 2 weeks ago, and it's the same with the coriander. Now there's a couple of more weeks later, the parsley has germinated quite well, and look at the dill and the coriander. So they have grown very nicely. So it's a success using overseeding method. So you could follow the same for any herbs that you want to grow. So the parsley can be divided now using that method into halves. You could even go for quarters if it is very thick, and that will give you 4 plants from one pot of germination. So I hope you enjoyed this video. See you soon with another one.